Okay, an easy way to actually solve partition coefficient questions, or KPC as some would call it, is to use this formula, which is KPC is equals to mass over volume divided by mass over volume. Now, this is the mass dissolved in organic solvent, and the other one would be dissolved in the aqueous layer. So if you know the concept of KPC clearly, it's basically where a mass is distributed among two layers. So there is some mass dissolved in this part, some mass is dissolved in this part. It depends on which ones, where the solute is more soluble in, where they're more attracted to, basically. So for example, here they're mixing, they are mixing Q into water and hexane. Now it depends. Now the KPC value depends on how much the mass of Q is soluble in water and in hexane. Therefore, the KPC value will change. Now, to use this formula properly, all you have to do is basically, first of all, this is a rule, and it is organic over aqueous. Now here, for example, this question, they mention hexane and water. So this one should be first, and this one should be second. That's how it always should be, okay? So, and the second thing is, they will normally give you the volume that you're going to have to be using. They're normally going to give you. They're also going to give you the total mass. But beware, the total mass is not the exact amount that you're supposed to put in the formula. So you're going to have to use the total mass that they give you and think about the mass that you could possibly write in the formula. So for example, here they're saying calculate the mass of Q dissolved in water. So what we can do with this total mass is we can form an equation. And we could simplify the mass that is dissolved in the water as X. This is dissolved in water, right? Q in H2O. Actually, let me just bring up the blue color. Yeah. Q dissolved in H2O. So that makes it a lot simpler. And now if you want to basically equate how much is dissolved in the hexane layer, all we have to do is basically from the total mass minus X, which is the amount of Q dissolved in the aqueous layer. Okay, so this is equals to Q in hexane. Okay, so since we have the formula for the mass, all we have to do now is follow the rules: organic over aqueous. Okay, and you just place the formulas. You put mass dissolved in hexane over the volume of hexane used over mass of Q dissolved in water over volume of water used is equals to 7.84, which is given to us in the previous question up here, or not even in the previous question, it's just given to us anyways. And now you can equate for X and you'll end up with a value of 0.566, and this would be your answer. That's it. Now if we want to try this, normally works with any question actually, so you can try this with as many questions as you want, but the only thing that you have to get right is your mass calculation. That's all you have to get right. The rest of the things, it will work, because I've been studying A-levels, and I've taken A-levels this year, and every single question that I've tried with this method, it has always worked. Okay, and sometimes they will mention how much butanoic acid, for how much mass is actually dissolved in each layer. For example, let's look at this question. The partition coefficient for butanoic acid between ethoxyethane and water is 3.50. So they have given us the KPC value. A solution of 2 grams of butanoic acid in 100 centimeter ethoxyethane is added to water. So basically, they said this is dissolved in this butanoic acid, 2 grams, is dissolved in 100 centimeter of ethoxyethane acid, is added to water. Now, they said the mixture is left until no further change in the concentration of butanoic acid in either solvent. The mass of butanoic acid dissolved in the ethoxyethane layer is 1.62 grams. Okay, so here they actually gave us the mass that is dissolved in both of the solvents. So to find the mass that is dissolved in water, all you have to do is minus 2 minus 1.62, which gives me 2 minus 1.62, it is 0.38 grams. 0.38 grams of mass dissolved in water, aqueous. Okay, use the formula that I just mentioned earlier. You put the mass of the organic solvent first, which is 1.62 as I mentioned here, and you put the volume, and you put the mass of butanoic acid dissolved in water. Sorry, my bad. This is supposed to be 38, but I wrote it in a weird way. Anyways, yeah, and this is equals to, and since we don't have the volume, the question is actually asking us to find the volume of water that we used. They already gave us the KPC, so this should be pretty straightforward. You end up equating for V, which is, just give me a second, it should be equal to 3.50. Then you equate this, and you should get a value of 82.1 centimeters of water used. The answer is actually 82.098, but to be fair, it's much better to do it 3 significant figures, because there's no you can't ensure what the marking scheme will have, but normally they make sure that the answer is in 3 significant figures. That's all. And yeah, this is actually like an easy way. All you have to remember is KPC is equals to organic over aqueous, and then you also have to mention mass over V. This is all you have to do, is probably to try and make an equation for the mass. Other than that, the rest of the steps is very simple, as they normally give it to you in the question. And yeah, that's how you solve partition coefficient questions in A-level chemistry.